Hello, welcome to Dracula in Russian Lesson 14. If you have not listened to Lesson 13, please click on it now. If you are new to the channel, please click on Lesson 1.
The attendant came to tell me, so I ran down at Adin Ras to have a smatret at him. He was still in the straight waistcoat and in the padded komnata, but the suffused smatret had gone from his litso, and his glaza had something of their starry pleading, I might almost say, cringing, softness. I was satisfied with his present condition and directed him to be relieved. The attendants hesitated, but finally carried out my wishes without protest. It was a strange thing that the patient had humor enough to see their distrust, for, coming close to me, he said in a whisper, all the while looking furtively at them, "They think I could hurt you. Fancy me hurting you. The fools!" This is a reminder. Remember, good translates to Haroshi. It was soothing, somehow, to the feelings to find myself dissociated even in the mind of this bedny madman from the others, but all the same I do not follow his thought. Am I to take it that I have anything in common with him, so that we are, as it were, to stand together, or has he to gain from me some Haroshi so stupendous that my well-being is needful to him? I must find out later on. Tonight he will not speak. Even the offer of a kitten, or even a full-grown cat, will not tempt him. He will only say, "I don't take any stock in cats. I have more to think of now, and I can wait. I can wait." This is a reminder. Remember after translates to posle. Posle a while I left him. The attendant tells me that he was quiet until just before dawn, and that then he began to get uneasy, and at length violent, until at last he fell into a paroxysm which exhausted him so that he swooned into a sort of coma. 3 nights has the same thing happened, violent all day, then quiet from moonrise to sunrise. I wish I could get some clue to the cause. It would almost seem as if there was some influence which came and went. Happy thought. We shall tonight play sane wits against mad ones. He escaped before without our help. Tonight he shall escape with it. We shall give him a chance, and have the men ready to follow in case they are required. This is a reminder. Remember, room translates to komnata. 23rd of August. The unexpected always happens. Cockwell, Disraeli knew life. Our bird, when he found the cage open, would not fly, so all our subtle arrangements were for naught. At any rate, we have proved one thing, that the spells of quietness last a reasonable time. We shall in future be able to ease his bonds for a few hours each day. I have given orders to the noche attendant merely to shut him in the padded komnata. When Adin Ras he is quiet, until an hour before sunrise. The bedny soul's body will enjoy the relief even if his mind cannot appreciate it. Hark, the unexpected again. I am called, the patient has Adin Ras more escaped. This is a reminder. Remember, room translates to komnata. This is a reminder. Remember, door translates to dvied. This is a reminder. Remember, way translates to sposob. This is a reminder. Remember, where translates to gde, later. Another noche adventure. Renfield artfully waited until the attendant was entering the komnata to inspect. Then he dashed out past him and flew down the passage. I sent word for the attendants to follow. Again, he went into the grounds of the deserted house, and we found him in the same place, pressed against the Stari Chapel dved. When he saw me, he became furious, and had not the attendants seized him in time, he would have tried to kill me. As we were holding him, a strange thing happened. He suddenly redoubled his efforts, and then as suddenly grew calm. I looked round instinctively, but could see nothing. Then I caught the patient's eye and followed it, but could trace nothing as it looked into the moonlit sky, except a big bat, which was flapping its silent and ghostly sposob to the west. Bats usually wheel and flit about, but this one seemed to go straight on, as if it knew day it was bound for or had some intention of its own. The patient grew calmer every instant, and presently said, "You needn't tie me. I shall go quietly." Without trouble we came back to the house. I feel there is something ominous in his calm, and shall not forget this noche. Lucy Westenra's diary. This is a reminder. Remember, room translates to komnata. Hillingham, 24th of August. I must imitate Mina and keep writing things down. Then we can have long talks when we do meet. I wonder when it will be. I wish she were with me again, for I feel so unhappy. Last noche I seemed to be dreaming again, just as I was at Whitby. Perhaps it is the change of air or getting home again. It is all dark and horrid to me, for I can remember nothing, but I am full of vague fear, and I feel so weak and worn out. When Arthur came to lunch, he looked quite grieved when he saw me, and I hadn't the spirit to try to be cheerful. I wonder if I could spot in Mother's komnata tonight. I shall deal it an excuse and try. This is a reminder. Remember, face translates to litso. 25th August. Another bad noche. Mother did not seem to take to my proposal. She seems not too well herself, and doubtless she fears to worry me. I tried to keep awake, and succeeded for a while, but when the clock struck 12, it waked me from a doze, so I must have been falling asleep. There was a sort of scratching or flapping at the window, but I did not mind it, and as I remember no more, I suppose I must then have fallen asleep. More bad dreams. I wish I could remember them. This morning I am horribly weak. My litso is ghastly pale, and my throat pains me. It must be something wrong with my lungs, for I don't seem ever to get air enough. I shall try to cheer up when Arthur comes, or else I know he will be miserable to see me so. Letter Arthur Holmwood to Dr. Seward. Albemarle Hotel, 33rd of August. My dear Jack, this is a reminder. Remember after translates to posle. I want you to do me a favor. Lucy is ill. That is, she has no special disease, but she looks awful, and is getting worse every day. I have asked her if there is any cause. I do not dare to ask her mother, for to disturb the Bedney lady's mind about her daughter in her present state of health would be fatal. Mrs. Westenra has confided to me that her doom is spoken, disease of the heart, though Bedney Lucy does not know it yet. I am sure that there is something preying on my dear girl's mind. I am almost distracted when I think of her. To smatrate at her gives me a pang. I told her Idoljan asked you to see her, and though she demurred at first, I know why, stary fellow, she finally consented. It will be a painful task for you, I know, stary druk, but it is for her sake, and I must not hesitate to ask or you to act. You are to come to lunch at Hillingham tomorrow, 2 o'clock, so as not to arouse any suspicion in Mrs. Westenra, and post lunch, Lucy will take an opportunity of being alone with you. I shall come in for tea, and we can go away together. I am filled with anxiety, and want to consult with you alone as soon as I can post you have seen her. Do not fail, Arthur. Telegram, Arthur Holmwood to Seward. Wern September. Am summoned to see my father, who is worse. Am writing. Write me fully by tonight's post to ring. Wire me if necessary. Letter from Dr. Seward to Arthur Holmwood. 2nd of September. My dear stary fellow, with regard to Miss Westenra's health, I hasten to let you know at Adin Raz that in my opinion there is not any functional disturbance or any malady that I know of. At the same time, I am not by any means satisfied with her appearance. She is woefully different from what she was when I saw her last. Of course, you must bear in mind that I did not have full opportunity of examination such as Idoljan wish. Our very friendship makes a malinki difficulty, which not even medical science or custom can bridge over. I had better tell you exactly what happened, leaving you to draw in a measure your own conclusions. I shall then say what I have done and propose doing. This is a reminder. Remember, door translates to dvied. This is a reminder. Remember, face translates to litso. I found Miss Westenra in seemingly gay spirits. Her mother was present, and in a few seconds I still up my mind that she was trying all she knew to mislead her mother and prevent her from being anxious. I have no doubt she guesses, if she does not know, what need of caution there is. We lunched alone, and as we all exerted ourselves to be cheerful, we got, as some kind of reward for our labors, some real cheerfulness amongst us. Then Mrs. Westenra went to lie down, and Lucy was left with me. We went into her boudoir. Until we got there, her gaiety remained, for the servants were coming and going. As soon as the dvied was closed, however, the mask fell from her litso, and she sank down into a chair with a veliki sigh, and hid her glaza with her hand. When I saw that her high spirits had failed, I at Adin Ras took advantage of her reaction to deal it a diagnosis. She said to me very sweetly, I cannot tell you, Cuck, I loathe talking about myself. I reminded her that a doctor's confidence was sacred, but that you were grievously anxious about her. She caught on to my meaning at Adin Ras, and settled that matter in a word. Tell Arthur everything you choose. I do not care for myself, but all for him. So I am quite free. This is a reminder. Remember, way translates to sposob. This is a reminder. Remember where translates to gde. In the next paragraph, we are introducing a new word. The word man translates to mushima. I could easily see that she is somewhat bloodless, but I could not see the usual anemic signs, and by a chance I was actually able to test the quality of her blood. For in opening a window which was stiff, a cord gave sposob, and she cut her hand slightly with broken glass. It was a slight matter in itself, but it gave me an evident chance, and I secured a few drops of the blood and have analyzed them. The qualitative analysis gives a quite normal condition and shows, I Dolgen infer, in itself a vigorous state of health. In other physical matters I was quite satisfied that there is no need for anxiety, but as there must be a cause somewhere, I have come to the conclusion that it must be something mental. She complains of difficulty in breathing satisfactorily at times, and of heavy, lethargic sput, with dreams that frighten her, but regarding which she can remember nothing. She says that as a child she used to walk in her sput, and that when in Whitby, the habit came back, and that at Din Ras she walked out in the Noche and went to East Cliff, where Miss Murray found her. But she assures me that of late the habit has not returned. I am in doubt, and so have done the best thing I know of. I have written to my stari droog and master, Professor Van Helsing of Amsterdam, who knows as much about obscure diseases as anyone in the world. I have asked him to come over, and as you told me that all things were to be at your charge, I have mentioned to him who you are and your relations to Miss Westenra. This, my dear fellow, is in obedience to your wishes, for I am only too proud and happy to do anything I can for her. Van Helsing would, I know, do anything for me for a personal reason. So, no matter on what ground he comes, we must accept his wishes. He is a seemingly arbitrary mushima, but this is because he knows what he is talking about better than anyone else. He is a philosopher and a metaphysician, and one of the most advanced scientists of his dane, and he has, I believe, an absolutely open mind. This, with an iron nerve, a temper of the ice brook, an indomitable resolution, self-command, and toleration exalted from virtues to blessings, and the kindliest and truest heart that beats, these form his equipment for the noble work that he is doing for mankind, work both in theory and practice, for his views are as wide as his all-embracing sympathy. I tell you these facts that you may know why I have such confidence in him. I have asked him to come at Adin Ras. I shall see Miss Westenra tomorrow again. She is to meet me at the stores so that I may not alarm her mother by too early a repetition of my call. Yours always, John Seward. Letter, Abraham Van Helsing, M.D., D.F., D.Lit, etc., etc., to Dr. Seward. September. This is a reminder. Remember, good translates to Haroshi. My Haroshi friend, this is a reminder. Remember, good translates to Haroshi. When I have received your letter, I am already coming to you. By Haroshi fortune, I can leave just at Adin Raz, without wrong to any of those who have trusted me. Were fortune other, then it were bad for those who have trusted, for I come to my Droog when he call me to aid those he holds dear. Tell your Droog that when that time you suck from my wound so swiftly, the poison of the gangrene from that knife that our other Droog, too nervous, let slip, you did more for him when he wants my aids, and you call for them than all his Veliki fortune could do. But it is pleasure added to do for him, your Droog. It is to you that I come. Have then rooms for me at the Veliki Eastern Hotel, so that I may be near to hand, and please it so arrange that we may see the young lady not too late on tomorrow, for it is likely that I may have to return here that noche. But if need be, I shall come again in 3 days, and stay longer if it must. Till then, goodbye, my Droog John. Van Helsing. Letter, Dr. Seward to Honder Arthur Holmwood. My dear Art, in the next paragraph we are introducing a new word. The word think translates to Dumat. This is a reminder. Remember, good translates to Haroshi. Van Helsing has come and gone. He came on with me to Hillingham, and found that, by Lucy's discretion, her mother was lunching out, so that we were alone with her. Van Helsing's deal a very careful examination of the patient. He is to report to me, and I shall advise you, for of course I was not present all the time. He is, I fear, much concerned, but says he must doom it. When I told him of our friendship and cock you trust to me in the matter, he said, you must tell him all you doom it. Tell him what I doom it, if you can guess it, if you will. Nay, I am not jesting. This is no jest, but life and death. perhaps more. I asked what he meant by that, for he was very serious. This was when we had come back to town, and he was having a cup of tea before starting on his return to Amsterdam. He would not give me any further clue. You must not be angry with me, Art, because his very reticence means that all his brains are working for her, Haroshi. He will speak plainly enough when the time comes, be sure. So I told him I would simply write an account of our visit, just as if I were doing a descriptive special article for the Daily Telegraph. He seemed not to notice, but remarked that the smuts in London were not quite so bad as they used to be when he was a student here. I am to get his report tomorrow if he can possibly daylight it. In any case, I am to have a letter. Well, as to the visit, Lucy was more cheerful than on the day I first saw her, and certainly looked better. She had lost something of the ghastly smutrate that so upset you, and her breathing was normal. She was very sweet to the professor, as she always is, and tried to let him feel at ease, though I could see that the Bedney girl was making a hard struggle for it. I believe Van Helsing saw it too, for I saw the quick smutrate under his bushy brows that I knew of Starry. Then he began to chat of all things except ourselves and diseases, and with such an infinite geniality that I could see Bedney Lucy's pretense of animation merge into reality. Then, without any seeming change, he brought the conversation gently round to his visit, and suavely said, "This is a reminder. Remember after translates to posle. This is a reminder. Remember way translates to sposob. This is a reminder. Remember think translates to dumat. My dear young miss, I have the so veliki pleasure because you are so much beloved. That is much, my dear. Ever were there that which I do not see. They told me you were down in the spirit and that you were of a ghastly pale. To them I say, poof!" And he snapped his fingers at me and went on, "But you and I shall cuck them. Cuck wrong they are. How can he?" And he pointed at me with the same smatreten gesture as that with which Adin Ras he pointed me out to his class, on, or rather posle, a particular occasion which he never fails to remind me of. Know anything of a young lady's? He has his madmans to play with, and to bring them back to happiness, and to those that love them. It is much to do, and, oh, but there are rewards in that we can bestow such happiness. But the young ladies, he has no wife nor daughter, and the young do not tell themselves to the young, but to the starry like me, who have known so many sorrows and the causes of them. So, my dear, we will send him away to smoke the cigarette in the garden, whiles you and I have malinki talk all to ourselves. I took the hint, and strolled about, and presently the professor came to the window and called me in. He looked grave, but said, "I have still careful examination, but there is no functional cause. With you I agree that there has been much blood lost. It has been, but is not. But the conditions of her are in no sposob anemic. I have asked her to send me her maid, that I may ask just one or two questions, that so I may not chance to miss nothing. I know well what she will say, and yet there is cause. There is always cause for everything. I must go back home and doom it. You must send to me the telegram every day, and if there be cause I shall come again. The disease, for not to be all well is a disease, interest me, and the sweet young dear, she interest me too. She charm me, and for her, if not for you or disease, I come." As I tell you, he would not say a word more, even when we were alone. And so now, Art, you know all I know. I shall keep stern watch. I trust your Bedney father is rallying. It must be a terrible thing to you, my dear starry fellow, to be placed in such a position between two people who are both so dear to you. I know your idea of duty to your father, and you are right to stick to it. But if need be, I shall send you word to come at Adin Ras to Lucy, so do not be over-anxious unless you hear from me. Dr. Seward's diary. This is a reminder. Remember after translates to posle. This is a reminder. Remember face translates to litso. 4th of September. Zoophagus patient still keeps up our interest in him. He had only one outburst, and that was yesterday at an unusual time. Just before the stroke of noon, he began to grow restless. The attendant knew the symptoms, and at Adin Ras summoned aid. Fortunately, the men came at a run, and were just in time, for at the stroke of noon he became so violent that it took all their strength to hold him. In about 5 minutes, however, he began to get more and more quiet, and finally sank into a sort of melancholy, in which state he has remained up to now. The attendant tells me that his screams whilst in the paroxysm were really appalling. I found my hands full when I got in, attending to some of the other patients who were frightened by him. Indeed, I can quite understand the effect, for the sounds disturbed even me, though I was some distance away.